storm coming.
Could be a twister.
Hey, Rick, can you walk me through something?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
So, you and Morty knew you needed my help, but you weren't sure I was good enough at karate, so you hired my grad students to attack me?
Yep.
But it was an emergency, Rick. How long did that take?
It actually took less training than you'd think. Your students all shared a pretty keen aptitude for martial arts. I don't know if that's by coincidence or if there's some correlation with their passion for African American women's studies. Maya Angelou did personify both acquiescence and perseverance.
Ooh-wee. That's exactly the kind of connection I'd have loved to explore in my class. Too bad I lost my job for putting my students in the hospital.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It seems like a good time for a drink and a cold, calculated speech with sinister overtones. A speech about politics, about order, brotherhood, power. But speeches are for campaigning. Now is the time for action.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Rick and Morty Season 4, Episode 3 video for the post-credit scene and Evil Morty. I know a lot of big questions about where he is, what is he doing right now, when are we going to see him on the show again. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Easter egg videos. We're doing a weekly merch giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your best Season 4 Evil Morty theory on the video. So careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on the show so far. But in this post-credit scene, at the beginning, they reference a storm coming, big storm coming, and it's going to be a twister, as in a big twist. Rick and the former Professor Poopy Butthole talk about the logic behind the story of this week's episode in a meta way, while Morty in the background solves this Rubik's Cube with a very distant, very severe, Evil Morty-esque look on his face. You can see and hear this giant storm coming in the distance, and it gives the scene a very ominous cast to it, portents of very bad things to come. The whole joke about the relationship between Maya Angelou, though, and knowing martial arts is because the students were so interested in her that they themselves tried to embody her ideas, as Rick says, perseverance and acquiescence. Acquiescence in the sense that they would submit themselves to sitting in his classroom all day to learn about her, and perseverance in that they had learned to defend themselves and take action when they felt threatened. Then the joke with him directly referencing the idea that he lost his job because it's totally not okay to fight with your students. So a lot of you in the last couple of episodes have asked, why haven't we seen Evil Morty yet, or any direct on-screen references to him beyond the more subtle ones when they start referencing the events of Season 3 and everything that Rick did that led them to change their family dynamic. There was a clip with one of the writers from Episode 3 talking about being brand new to the Rick and Morty writers' room at the start of this new 70-episode order and how they had all this content that they had to produce, and how the producers, including Dan and Justin, gave them some basic guidelines in terms of what kinds of references and ideas for episodes they were supposed to generate for this first block of episodes.
Are there forbidden topics? Are there hacky topics, frequently pitched ideas, things to avoid?
We were not encouraged to go back and find another Meeseeks episode, because that's just too tunnel vision for finding a good episode of the show, and probably because there's 70 episodes left of the show. It's like you don't want to go back to the well necessarily. There is so much more to find and more to create that, don't narrow your view by thinking, well, what do I have to go back and answer? And there's time for all that stuff.
So one of the examples that she gives is that Dan and Justin, the other producers, didn't want the writers going to look for extra Meeseeks episodes because they didn't want them mining old bits over and over again. There were 70 episodes that they had to fill. Dan and Justin aren't huge fans of totally ripping themselves off, particularly this early in the run. That doesn't mean that they'll never bring stuff back. And there were Meeseeks during the first episode. That's them being cool with subtle references and jokes about earlier bits. That's why you saw a very short but very big Meeseeks scene. You saw Pickle Rick, you saw Squatchy in their visions, all bits from previous episodes in the past. But a lot of them were quick and hard to spot if you weren't watching the episode really carefully, so they weren't super on the nose about some of those callbacks. And even with the Meeseeks one, which was a little more overt, the producer explained that the whole idea was the Meeseeks scene was meant to be a reference how derivative and hacky Morty's ideas are. All versions of Morty. Not just the main version of Morty during the episode, but also Fascist Morty, where he keeps repeating that he wants to go back to old-fashioned, good old Rick and Morty adventures. We're going back to the way things used to be. So it was the writers making fun of the Morty character in a meta way, making fun of themselves, and calling out a small portion of the fandom that gets too obsessed with their older bits. The difference with Evil Morty, though, is that he's not a bit from an earlier episode. He's become one of the core serialized elements of the show, and probably one of the biggest adversaries that Rick has been creating for himself. That's also been another recurring theme in the last couple of episodes. Like during episode 2, the mobster fly that he threatens when he's looking for the toilet bandit, and he walks away without killing them. And he tells Rick that he's going to pay for this, but then Rick basically doesn't care. He just says, it'll be worth it if I find out who used my toilet. The creation of a whole other new plot thread with a whole organization of people that want Rick's blood. And even though they haven't gone really deep into serialized story elements in the first 3 episodes, just remember what they said at the end of episode 1, that ending scene where they start yelling at each other about the future of Rick and Morty. They said that season 4 is going to be a mixture of serialized stories, one-offs, like the heist episode, and episodes that were about nothing at all, they kind of joke, which to me feels more like a Seinfeld reference, which famously marketed itself as a show that was about nothing, just a bunch of people hanging out and funny things happen to them during the normal course of their day. In fact, if you never saw it, they actually have a Seinfeld deleted scene from a previous episode. It didn't make it past animatic, but it's a genuine Seinfeld scene in a Rick and Morty episode.
Hey, Morty, look, it's Seinfeld from a dimension where he's completely unrelatable. Oh, turn it up, Rick. What's the deal with all these Mexican bones under our house? Why do we keep burying Mexicans in the basement? I mean, what's the deal with these Mexican bones? They're so hard to eat. Hey, boy, Rick, I never found Seinfeld funny, but this stuff really gets me.
Yeah, Morty, I think we finally found a Seinfeld for our generation.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, change it.
All right.
Ultra-specific references like that feel like they come from Dan more than they come from Justin. But if you missed a lot of the coverage of Rick and Morty Season 4 during Comic-Con this summer, there was a clip of them talking about a special moment that would happen during a post-credit scene in the first 5 episodes of Season 4 that would be a big teaser for things to come.
I can't. I literally cannot stop thinking about this tag that you guys don't know about.
We have a tag in Season 4 that's gonna tease some shit up in Season 5.
Now that's not them coming right out and saying they're definitely doing an Evil Morty post-credit scene reference, but they are pretty much saying that outside of the normal funny stuff that they do in post-credit scenes and callbacks to jokes within the particular episodes, they're implying it's supposed to tease something really big is coming, and Mr. Poopy Butthole says a big storm is coming. Rick says it will be a big twister, as in big twist, implying that they're going to be doing something big with Evil Morty in the second half of Season 4. For those of you asking when the second block of episodes is going to air, based on Adult Swim's behavior in the past, until they say something official, early guess is that they'll come back at the end of January right after the Christmas and New Year's holidays. If you look back at the Rick and Morty Season 1 episode schedule, they did something very similar, breaking that season into 2 parts, airing the first half before Christmas and the second half after Christmas. But catching up with Evil Morty at the beginning of Season 4, the last we saw him, he was beginning to restructure the citadel of Ricks. Mortys in general were enjoying more freedom, more power. He fired the teachers that were giving them the old dogma about how Mortys were supposed to serve their Ricks. But beyond rebuilding the Citadel itself and creating his Morty New World Order, that was about it. Tammy, Phoenix Person, the remnants of the galactic government are still out there somewhere. We know Squanchy is out there somewhere because there's a future timeline where he winds up killing Rick where he's all squanched out. But I'm not expecting to see any of those characters show up really soon, mostly for the same reason they're holding off on doing Evil Morty Citadel stuff right away. There's 70 more episodes, so they're just going to ease into some of that stuff. But post all your theories in the comments. Do you think that they're gearing up for a big Evil Morty Citadel return in the back half of Season 4 next year? Big storms coming. Quick reminder that episode 4 is going to be this weekend. They were on break this past weekend for Thanksgiving. I will do a new bonus video soon, so let me know what you want that video to be about. Congratulations Alpha J 3.0, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Rick and Morty video. Please email me on the about page of my channel so I can get your details. Everyone click here for the Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 4 trailer video, and click here for my new Mandalorian video about why the Empire wants Baby Yoda so bad. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.